We are now going to look at how you can use frame tools and marquee tools in InDesign. So just to again point out the difference between these two tools, your rectangle frame tool is used predominantly for photos and anywhere you would be placing content into. Remember, if you hold down, you have three tools available there. Same thing with the rectangle tool. You have three tools available there as well. And we're now going to talk about drawing some shapes and getting started. So I'm going to grab my rectangle frame tool and I'm going to be working from here. So that's one way you can draw your rectangle tool, just by clicking and drawing. Remember, it is non-printing, so we need to put a frame on it in order to see it. Probably want our frame to be black. We can also fill it with a little color if we want to kind of see our area a little bit better. You can also, when you are drawing a frame, simply click down and then you can insert the size. So we're going to do a 16p 0.25 by 17p 0.25, and that's going to be our photo right up there for that space. I'm just going to move him over, and we'll move this over a little bit too. And again, I'm using my grid to kind of determine my sizing. And this time we're going to grab my eyedropper tool, and we just color picked the stroke and the fill from that object onto that. So that kind of is another way to speed up your work. And we're going to have a final photo down here. Now you may have noticed I am working with pica as my unit increments. You can still, if you use this technique, type in inches. Just use the IN right after it and it's going to automatically convert it for you. So if you have a client who has sent you some specifications for size and sent them in inches, you don't need to do any math to convert those. InDesign will do that work for you. And again, we'll just sample that. So now we have our three photos in place. If we hit the W, you can see we have those nicely framed and a little temporary fill color so we can see them better. We're going to look at this area up here and I'm going to work with the rectangle tool quickly. So let's say that I have an icon, I want it to go here, and I know this is kind of where I want the center. To draw out from a center, I can hold down the keyboard shortcut Alt and it'll draw from the center. If I would like a perfect square, I can hold the Shift key down. So I'm holding the Alt and the Shift key and getting a perfect square. When you do that, release your mouse and then your keyboard. I'm now going to use my keyboard shortcut V, switching to my selection tool, and I can rotate this object. If I rotate and hold the Shift key, I can get things to rotate to a 90 or 45 degree angle. So say this is the look I want to have. It's going to be a logo. And let's just put a color fill on this for now. We'll change that later. I can use a very similar method if I needed a circular shape. Again, Shift would give me a perfect circle. If I'm drawing something and I realize I kind of want to move it, I can hold the space bar and move it and then continue to draw. We actually don't want that, so we're going to delete it. The final tool, the polygon tool, again, I can hold the Shift key out. I can use the Alt to draw from the center. I can use the space bar to move it. And when I'm working with the polygon tool, if I use my arrow keys, I can eventually get to a triangle. Now, one of the shapes I am going to have on my lead photo, I'm going to have some text boxes here, and I want them to be rectangles. and they're going to be similar. So I'm going to show you another technique here. Just drawing my shape out. I can resize these later, so I'm not concerned about the size of them at this point in time. Grabbing my selection tool, I'm going to use my Alt key, and that's going to quickly copy an object for me. It's the same size, same shape, and if I hover, you notice I get that black and white arrow. That's your visual cue that you're ready to Alt copy an object. Then if I wanted to go in and make some slight adjustments, I can. Once you get these objects placed, this is a good time to look at different alignment options you have within InDesign. So if I drew these, and as you saw, I purposefully moved that one, and shift click these two objects, I can use my alignment icons up here to help me align those objects. So I can align those to the left, or I can align those to the right. Let's look at those a little more in depth down here on this blank page, and I want to show you kind of a neat trick you can do with InDesign. So I have my rectangle frame tool, and I'm going to draw a big space, and as I draw that, I'm going to hit my right arrow, and then I'm going to hit my up arrow, and as you can see, that gives me a grid. Now let's say with these objects, what would be the point of having a grid? Maybe if you're doing a cool photo layout, that could be interesting. Let's look at some of the alignments, and I'm actually going to bring up the Align panel so we can kind of have it down here next to our objects to work with them. So we looked at Align to the left edges. We can also align the horizontal centers. Here's what that would look like. We're kind of bringing those all in line based on where the horizontal centers would be. We looked at right align. We can align the top edges. So if you had three objects, and usually they won't be as off as these are, maybe a little off, you can align those. And another thing you can do with the alignment, and you can see there's differences between some spacing here, but you have those selecting, you can distribute the spacing. So distribute the horizontal, so now those are even. If we had some objects like this, we could select these three and distribute the vertical spacing, even those spaces out. So this alignment is a really helpful tool when you start working with objects and to use in conjunction with your grids. Another thing you can do with your objects is group them together. Grouping is a very simple option. Select and then Command G. Ungrouping is Shift Command G. Much of the operations you would be doing when you're working with your shape tools is under the Object menu. So do take some time to explore those. Another item you can do with these rectangles is edit the corners by clicking this yellow, and when you pull all of them in, you get rounded rectangles. If you hold the Shift key, you can just pull one or two of the edges in, start creating unique and interesting shapes with those. You may have noticed that you also have corner options here. So this is another way you can alter your corners, and you can choose which corner you want to alter and just alter them one at a time. And we'll do it larger, and you can see that's how you can start getting some unique and original shapes with just a few simple steps using your frame and marquee tools.